Perfect. Okay, so I'm Veda, and I've invited my great friend Mondo to chat with me today. Mondo and we've known each other for just under 2 years now.
Mhm.
It started out as a working relationship. I was looking to raise my baby without a birth certificate and a social security number, and I can talk about why I was on that venture in a little bit. But I was on a mission to find someone that does exactly what Mondo does because it is essential to have what Mondo does for my baby to function in society. So I actually found a few different people that did life insurance. They created policies, but not the way that Mondo does. And second of all, I needed someone that could do it without a birth certificate and a social. And Mondo was the only person that I've ever found that was able to do it the way that I needed specifically. So, yeah, I guess I'll let you kind of even introduce yourself, Mondo. But we've created this really great friendship, and
Yeah.
Mondo's actually in Utah, where I live, and his
Oh
family's
yeah.
here visiting, and we've just had a really great time. So, yeah, I'll turn it over to you just a little bit to
Yeah.
introduce
No,
yourself.
that's cool, man. This is great. Being in Utah with you and Cam and the fam, it's just fantastic. We're having a great time. As y'all can see, I'm like in a beautiful Airbnb. I just gave Kristen a little tour as I was walking around trying to figure out where I was going to sit. But but we're having a great time, and we figure we just get on here and chop it up. And we had so many great conversations, right, over dinner
Hmm.
and lunches and hanging at the house about all these cool things regarding birth certificates and free babies and insurance and private banking and all these different concepts. I mean, you name it, trust. I mean, we talked about everything, right?
Yes.
And and we were like, you know what? People need to hear what we're discussing.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of information and thoughts and experiences and stuff that it'd be cool if people had like a little sneak peek into the conversation we had at lunch yesterday, or at your home, or in the cars and at dinners. So,
Yes, yes,
hey, why
very
not?
outside the
Let's go.
box thoughts
Yeah,
because
yeah,
for everything, right, we're taught a specific way. And then we
right.
don't realize how we hold those beliefs so strongly just because that's the only one lane we've ever been taught. So when we
Yeah,
start having these conversations of this whole other road that you and I are walking that no one else has even heard of, it sounds so foreign. So a lot
yeah.
of the reprogramming is so interesting, and it really brought me to reality when you were like, we need to share these conversations with other people because it really opens your mind to other things.
Man.
You and I were talking too, even just on the concept of having a baby without a birth certificate and a social security number. I personally, I know if I were to go back 10 years to have a conversation with myself, I would have thought that was crazy. That just
Mhm.
sounds crazy. And it's something I actually never would have even questioned in the first place. Why
Okay.
is it something you would question? Personally, 2020 really like was 2020 vision for me and how
Okay.
I started kind of Marie Kondoing. Do you know Marie Kondo?
I do not. No.
Okay, you need to know who Marie Kondo is. She's this
Okay. All right. School me, girl. Come on.
she has this Netflix special, basically where she like cleans home cleaning. And what
Oh,
she does, oh, you
I
know what I'm
see.
talking
Okay.
about?
My wife did not. I walked through the room when my wife was watching. So yeah, I know what
Yes.
you're talking about. Yeah, yeah,
Yes. So basically, it's this whole concept of you're taking everything in your home and you're
yeah.
putting it in the middle of the room and you're pulling everything out one by one. And you're like, does this bring me joy? And does it? And if it does, you're going to keep it. And if it
Mhm.
doesn't, you get rid of it. So I kind of did this with my mind in every way, shape, and form, where I took
Wow.
every single one of my beliefs about everything, put it in the middle of my living room, essentially. And every little thing, I'm like, do I believe this? And why do I believe
Yeah.
this to be true? You know, and
Right.
really started questioning every belief in my mind. And when I got pregnant with my first baby, that's really what blew the lid for me on the
Okay.
business of birth, right? Just in
Hmm.
general. And then it comes down to, the birth certificate, all these different things. So that's really what got me questioning when it's something I never would have questioned otherwise.
Okay. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, just certain
Is
things that,
Well, let me ask you though, because I'm curious. Like, so you find out all this information, you go down the rabbit hole, right? And you're discovering all this new information. And I wouldn't say new information; it's new to you.
yeah. Yes.
It's new to you. Not
Yes.
necessarily new, it's just new to you. And you're like, wait a second, these things are, you're able to do this, and this part isn't mandatory, and this is written in the Constitution or codes or whatever, and I'm allowed to. Wait, but I didn't know. So let me ask you, so give me some of your skeptical thoughts or some of the things that you were like, okay, but really? Like, what were some of the things that you were kind of like, I don't know, man, that was too good to be true or whatever? What were some of the things that you were dealing with?
Yeah, when I started just learning the truth about the birth certificate in itself, and this
Hmm.
idea that the birth certificate creates an entity in your name.
Hmm.
So they say this term straw man. But to me, we hold these beliefs so deeply that the name on the birth certificate is us because we were
Hmm.
born and all they did in our mind is they created a record of our birth.
Hmm.
So when people were saying what this did is it actually created an entity in our name, I really had a hard time believing that to be true because
Ah, okay.
because my name is the name that's on that certificate.
Hmm.
So when I really started reframing my mind into becoming a business owner actually and realizing how I represent a business,
Hmm.
they've actually done that to us.
So that's so okay. So let's go back one step though, because
Yeah.
you said you had a hard time wrapping your mind around
Mm-hmm.
XYZ.
Yep.
Do you find that the questions that you get, people DMing you, calling you, whatever, emails, is that still like a common thread throughout the community of people that are, walking with you?
Yes, absolutely. Because
Okay.
of the way we've been groomed in our lives to believe we are the ID that we show someone else,
Mm.
we forgot and that actually
Yeah.
we are men and women.
Hmm.
We start identifying as other things when we didn't we first basically realizing that we diminish ourselves because men
Hmm.
and women have rights under the original written constitution.
Correct.
And then you start looking at statutes and codes and different things and realizing every time we say, "Hey, I'm this," suddenly we're identifying as a representative of something else.
Oh, wow.
So it took me a
Yeah.
moment and a long time, honestly, to what's even the word? To really comprehend that concept that there
Hmm.
was a difference between me as a woman and the business on the paper
Yeah.
or the certificate that said it would that I
Especially,
was
especially when you
representing.
find out especially when you find out what the social security number really is.
Yes. Oh, exactly. When you start
Yeah.
going a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
You
Yeah. When you start going deeper, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. When you realize, wait, like social security and there's a number, and we think it's all about the things we've been programmed to think.
Mm-hmm.
Really, to the people who issue it, it means something completely different.
Yes. Yes.
And that right there will right
Yes.
upside the head when you realize that, wait a second. These digits mean something different to the people who issued it.
Yes. And if you even look at the card, it on there
Yeah.
says, you don't own this. The state owns this. So we've been identifying as this number, thinking we were the owners of this number when we've never been the owners.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
And
Mm-mm.
again, it's backed up all by, statutes and codes that we've all been abiding by unknowingly.
Yeah.
Um,
You know what it reminds me of? This is probably a terrible analogy, but it reminds me of a cattle ranch,
yeah. No,
right? And every
literally,
cattle's got a
yes.
number.
Yes. Well, yeah, that
You know what I
actually,
mean?
if you look at legal definitions, and that's what
Uh,
kind of started really blowing my mind is when I started looking at the statutes, looking at the codes,
yeah,
and looking at the legal terms of things,
yeah.
it
Mhm.
actually makes us cattle. We are numbers.
Mhm.
And not realizing that the United States, first and foremost, is a business.
100%.
Right. And
100%.
so all
Yep.
we are sub corporations of that business. And every
Correct.
time we use that social security number, that business, we're just making money for the bigger parent corporation. Right?
Yeah. Which is with the rabbit hole we went down last night, to your
Hmm.
point, going into, when you get your first job and you fill out that tax form,
Yep.
right? When you you're paying your taxes and you make some money cutting grass. You're like, oh, I got to report it to the government. Well, all those types of things, the programming of anytime I get something, I got to tell them, and there is a programming, and I'm telling you, it's like I'm on the journey too. So I'm not sitting here with you like I've arrived and I know it all. Because every time I hear you speak, every time we talk, every time we do webinars and educational events, I learn. And so this is really cool to be here, just chopping it up, going back and forth. Because I'm curious, like, okay, here's my point. So we do webinars, right? And
Hmm.
I know there's eyeballs looking at me, wondering, like, okay, dude, like for real, like you're a clown. Like this can't be for real, right? And I would only think that there's some people looking at you when they don't know you, they don't know anything about Veda, and they're like, okay, this lady, for real, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, and
Yep.
so we were discussing last night about having an open mind, right? Having an open mind. And if something sounds different, strange, new, or maybe you just don't all the way understand it, it doesn't mean it's bad. It doesn't even mean it's wrong. It's just new to you.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It doesn't mean that just because it goes against your programming, it doesn't mean that it's wrong. Maybe your programming is wrong,
Yep.
possibly.
Yeah.
It's possible, right? So having these conversations with individuals, that we meet after webinars, I will say the common thread, the people that engage with you and engage with me to go down their own family journey, I find these individuals are taking, was it the red pill or blue pill? Which was it in Matrix? They were taking the red pill, right?
Actually, yes. Yes.
Whatever it is. But they were taking a pill to basically say, I don't mean that illustration, basically saying, you know what? Okay, what I've known to be true, I mean, it's got me somewhere, but I feel like there's something more. And maybe it's not, because my thing is like, how people are, they get so stuck on their programming. And my question is, well, how's that working out for you?
It's a choice when you realize
It's
that you
just,
are, it's still a choice. You're choosing
yeah,
it.
exactly. You're choosing. So, I always encourage people to have an open mind. So when you talked about earlier, the insurance policy, I was able to help you, get for your baby.
Hmm.
There was a lot of heat I was getting, so to speak, and a lot of crazy eyes and in the insurance world and people that I was navigating through and doing the research, finding out, is this possible? And then if they said no, I would ask why. No one gave me a solid answer.
Yeah.
Well, we just don't do it that way. Okay, great. Why? Well, you just have to have a social. Why? I was like a super annoying toddler. You know what I mean? This
Hmm.
is why. And no one could really continuously give me a solid answer or anything in black and white that said that it was not allowed. So I asked so many times, and I ended up finding one person that have heard of what we were looking to do. And they were like, oh yeah, that's doable. And then educated the rest
Yeah.
along with me. And we're like, well, yeah, that we can't find any reason not to. So we'll go ahead and do it.
Yeah. Because most of the time we're just trying to check boxes, right? So when
Right. Exactly.
people first and foremost come to me and they're like, "But you can't X, Y, and Z without the birth
Mhm.
certificate and the social." And my first
Yep.
question back is, "Well, have you asked?" Because most
Come
people
on.
say, "Hey, you need a birth certificate," and the first thing you do
Yeah.
is you hand them a birth certificate. Have you ever asked if there's another way?
See? Exactly. I got one question. I don't know if I ever told you this. So I got an email from someone in this company and I was talking to, and they were like, so how come their baby doesn't have a birth certificate? What's really going on? That was literally what it said.
Yep. That's
And I
awesome.
was like, okay, now, so think about what the email said, right?
Hmm.
But I want you to pay more attention to the tone.
Hmm.
And where's that tone coming from?
Yeah. It's
It's
the
coming from, yeah, what do you think is coming from? The tone of that email, not necessarily just the words, but the
mhm.
tone of it. Well, yeah, go ahead. Where do you think it
I'm
came
gonna
from?
say first, I feel like it's that Agent Smith that lives in every single one of us that has to defend the Matrix right away.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And I say that because going this path without a birth
Uh-huh.
certificate and a social, I encounter these people everywhere, and I
Yeah.
first have empathy for them because I used to think that way too.
Hmm.
Um, because they really can't even wrap their minds around why you wouldn't. Because
Right.
when you're saying, "Hey, I need this," and they're like, "Well, let me help you get the birth certificate." And I'm like, "Well, you're not comprehending that I'm not trying to get a birth certificate. I don't need
Hmm.
help doing that. I know what I'm doing." And that
Hmm.
there's a glitch kind of and you
Oh,
have to
oh yeah.
defend this idea that we've been taught that
Hmm.
again the birth certificate is just a record of birth and that you want citizenship because you want the protections of citizenship and really this whole idea of even what citizenship means is a whole other rabbit hole that people don't realize there's citizenship and there's nationality and that there's men and women living privately and not as an employee to the corporation. There's
Hmm.
just so many things that we've been lied to about, or the wool's been over our eyes, kind of thing. We've
Well,
been thinking
well,
we've been
yeah.
operating a certain way.
So let me ask you this, kind of, I'm gonna poke a little bit I'm gonna play, I
I
don't like to
love
say
it.
devil. I don't like to play devil's
Yes.
advocate. I don't like which, but I'm gonna
Yes.
play the other advocate, whatever.
Do it.
So to your point, I mean, we've all been programmed to some sort of way, right?
Hmm.
Um, and people are looking at you and saying, "Hey, well, you're going down these rabbit holes, and it's giving that glitch of, well, this can't be real, this can't be true." What kind of feeling, I guess, are people receiving, or you did you get when you realize, well, wait a second, you started seeing the light, like you're going down that tunnel. Like, talk about that, because what did it do to your wiring when you realize, well, wait a second, there's a door with a lot of light over there, and I can go there, and it's allowed. Like that moment of the chains coming off, if you will. That's probably a bad
Yeah.
example, but I mean, how did you
No,
feel when?
really. Suddenly there's this moment of freedom that you
Mhm.
didn't even realize that you were in mental enslavement. And I actually started realizing in the first place that a birth certificate, first and foremost, is an energetic contract.
Yeah,
Energetically, its purpose is to steal your energy, to steal your money. Your energy is in your money, and you're when you're paying in this in taxes, and you need to prove to people through this energetic contract first and foremost. Like for me, it just even on my nervous system. When I first started thinking of having this baby and not registering them, just that
yeah.
feeling in my body just felt good. Not feeling like I had to ask Big Brother for permission.
Wow.
And then I actually started because really it started with me connecting with my baby, and the clear messaging from him was I need
Mm,
to be born free. And so
mm.
my questions first came to, well, what does that mean?
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
You and that really led my mind into what does it mean to be born free? Because there is, there's physical freedom,
Yeah.
spiritual freedom, emotional freedom. All of those things actually led me into so much bigger concepts of what it means to be free. Even the concept for me of if I haven't dealt with my own emotional shit, my baby is feeling that. And I actually am
Well,
passing emotional
ain't that the truth?
stuff to him.
Yes.
So it really
Yes.
led me into this like emotional healing. So I
Yeah.
wasn't bringing a baby in with all my stuff. There was a lot of different things I had to dive into in the idea of what does it mean to be free. So
Yeah.
just the birth certificate was a part of the list of what does it mean to be born free.
So
And
you said a word though earlier that I think may have triggered some individuals.
mm,
Okay. Um, because I would say, some time ago before meeting you, and meeting you actually caused me to start digging, right?
uh,
But some time ago, you said a word that would have triggered me in a way, and probably other people are watching, and it
ooh,
is maybe a sentence that says, well, they've lied to us.
ah, yep.
And so my question is it more of not a lie, but there's a game that's being played that we're born into, and they never told us it was already going on? Like,
Bingo.
yeah,
Yes.
you know what I'm saying? Like, is it maybe not a lie? We're just born into, it's kind of like, if you were born into like the third quarter of a football game and you just started doing it, like
Hmm.
game's been going for a minute, you just showed up and a part of it now. So it's not that we lied to you. It's just welcome to the game.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes, I love what you just said and what you brought up because that really is how we were all born. And we're born,
Right.
and the people we're associating with all were born, say we're playing a Monopoly game, okay? We are
Right.
all born literally believing that we're the pieces on the little board.
Hmm.
And when I started realizing, and as this little piece, I'm passing go collecting my $200 thinking that this is life. And all the pieces I'm with are thinking the same thing. So we've all been living this little life. When I
Hmm.
started researching or realizing or seeing, it allowed me, I think, to zoom out of the game a little bit to kind of finally see that there was a board.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
start
Yeah.
seeing how the game is played. And there, I think, is a whole mourning process that goes along with this too,
Sure.
because
Sure.
part of that mourning process is denial, which
Hmm.
I think a lot of people go through first when they start learning new information. First, you have to like go against that resistance of what I've been told to be true or what I believe to be true and how that can't be, because you sometimes have to defend your your comfort level, because then if you have if it's true, then you have to question your whole reality, and that's a whole slew of can of worms that you have to really confront
Ooh,
yourself with,
ooh, you're
right?
triggering me right now. You're triggering me right now. You're so spot on because it triggers an insecurity and it triggers this idea, well, wait, so you mean to tell me I've been sucking all this time? You mean to tell me like we don't want to have that feeling of well, the way I've been doing it has been wrong. And that feeling of I don't like a wasted time.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
admitting the fact that I've been doing it probably not the best way all this time.
Yeah. Or
Admitting,
even like beyond that, thinking maybe you've harmed yourself or others by this
mhm,
belief and you don't want to even accept that, because then you have to
mm,
defend the repercussions of what those choices had. You
yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah, 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 because it triggers maybe even a little insecurity in
Mm-hmm.
the, I mean, it triggers, and honestly, I think when people really bark back at the ideas that we're discussing, whether it be from free babies over to insurance and different things, I think a lot of times what ends up rearing its ugly head is arrogance.
Yes.
Is that any of us would think that in the minute time that we've been here on earth that we got it all figured out.
Yes.
And when you think there's nothing else to learn and you're not willing to explore ideas, now I'm not saying you have to execute every idea you hear, right? But at least be open to learning, sifting through, using your own discernment, your own guidance, whatever
Mm-hmm.
that is to you, and making decisions accordingly and understand that life is a journey, it's not a destination.
Yes.
And and so I think when we resist that, I want to stay here. Forget that path. Like forget learning, forget stretching, but forget learning something new. I know what I was told. I know what I learned. You know what I mean? And you sit there. That's arrogance, man.
Yeah.
That's exactly
Yep.
what it is. And it can
But life is
potentially,
also comfortable there too, because I remember my high school self, I knew everything
yeah,
about life. I had life figured out in high
yeah. I think
school,
most high school kids, we all thought
actually.
that. Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
sometimes
yeah.
if you could go back there and like in that feeling of like I have life figured out, sometimes that feels good. You know what I mean? But actually, the more I continued on my journey and I realized I had this whole expansion of I actually don't know anything, and that's
Oh
actually way more exciting,
man, look,
and
I'm
there's no
48.
limit.
I'm 48, and I'm gonna tell you, I realize the older I get, the less I know.
Yeah.
And it's a
Yeah.
beautiful spot. I'm not trying to like beat myself up or something.
Hmm.
But it's exciting for me to say that. I realize that like every year, I realize the more I don't know, and
And
I'm like, and that keeps,
how
yeah, it
cool
keeps me
that is.
going. Yeah,
Yes,
it
I
keeps me
feel
on the
that so
quest of,
deeply.
yeah, it keeps me on the quest of learning and stretching and growing and surrounding myself around people who have different ideas and experiences that maybe, my little cubby, I never experienced it in there. So maybe let me come out my shell a little bit, right? Out of my little
Hmm.
corner of comfort. Man, comfort kills, man. I'm gonna tell you that. Like, comfort kills.
Hmm.
Here's what's interesting. So I'm gonna tie something together for me, and I'm gonna see if it applies to you.
Yeah.
I believe that your journey and even my journey in regards to, free babies and, everything we're talking about, you start to become awakened a little when you become an entrepreneur because the more you're an entrepreneur, because think about it, a W-2 is very much in the grid. Okay. Now I know a lot of you have W-2, so I'm not pissing on it. Okay. I'm being respectful, but it's very much on the grid. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
In a lot of ways. When you become an entrepreneur, you got to realize these are individuals who are creating jobs, creating W-2 jobs.
Hmm.
Like anyone watching and you work for a company and there's bosses and owners, those guys are entrepreneurs like us two. And there's a certain reality in relationship that we have with the government, with the IRS, with the entities than W-2 employees have. It's a completely different relationship. And in that entrepreneur relationship, you discover a lot of things that are like, what the hell? And then other things that are, that's pretty cool.
Uh-huh.
And you
Yeah.
understand, then you start, and then there's that third door. Wait a second. I don't need none of that.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
It's like, so there's that's pretty cool. Like, what the hell is that? That's pretty cool. And wait a second. I don't need none of that. And as you kind of go down that track, it opens your mind to other aspects from a personal standpoint, from your family.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like your business is now reflected in your home. You're like, wait, okay, my business, then what about it really like it's crazy, man, how the relationship as an entrepreneur with IRS, with the government, and with the powers that be, how it will illuminate so many details and
Yes.
create all these rabbit holes that you dig down that the world of a W-2 individual you'll never be exposed to,
Yes. Yes.
right? And you know what's
1,000%.
interesting? So check this out. Last thing, and I'll shut up. Um,
Don't shut up. Keep
I heard
going.
I had someone tell me this is years ago, probably 6 years, 7 years ago, that they're going to stop being an entrepreneur, close their business down, and go back to, just having a regular job, W-2, whatever. Cool, awesome. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the reason was because of all of the realities of an entrepreneur. The what the hell is that? Okay, that's cool, but I don't know all the some of the constrictions. If you don't really know how to play the game as an entrepreneur, you almost get spanked for being an entrepreneur if you don't know how to play the game.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Uh-huh.
If you don't know how to play the game, being an entrepreneur can slap you back into W-2.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it did, you know what I'm saying? Go
Yeah.
ahead, go ahead.
Oh no,
Go
I've
ahead.
I've had so many conversations with my husband Cam who said the same thing when those realities start hitting and he's like, "I think I just want to go back to being W-2 because I feel like that would just be so much easier." He's had so many moments of that and it's so
Oh,
relatable.
in my early years of entrepreneurship, it will because they make it so challenging if you don't really know the game,
Hmm.
right? Because you just show up, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm gonna get a food truck, I'm gonna start a e-commerce business, I'm gonna do whatever, and you just say, okay, I'm gonna LLC, and I'm gonna do this, and you kind of do the check boxes, but you're really not understanding the game,
Yes.
right? You're playing Uno, and they're playing like the advanced chess, and you have no idea,
Yes. So you keep getting slapped around and you're like, this game is
and
not fun. This
you're
game
like, this game
sucks.
sucks.
Yeah.
Like I'm
Uh-huh.
out. I'm
Yeah.
going back. Hey,
Hmm.
hey, Mr. Bob, can I get my gig back, please?
But then
You know
it's
what I
so
mean?
funny because it makes it sound, I mean, in this conversation, the W-2 is so easy when that is so hard too. And that has so
Yes.
many challenges because you're literally a pawn in the game, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. Getting overtaxed. But that's a whole nother
Yeah.
conversation. That's a
Yes.
whole nother conversation.
So it's
Yeah.
like
So,
you're picking your hard.
yep.
And then
Yep.
there's that expansion. I want to go back to the Monopoly board that we were talking about, where it's like, hey, you've got your W-2. You can even
Mhm.
expand that to you can still continue to be your 1099 or entrepreneur as a board, but you do expand a little bit seeing the game. Like you were saying,
Yes.
your relationship changes a little bit. So you start
Yeah.
seeing the game board a little more clear. But as you
Yes.
can continue to open your heart and expand your reality and humble yourself, realizing that you don't know it all and actually you don't know anything, and that allows you to step back a little more. You start seeing the game board and you're like, okay, hold up. I can play the game a little bit differently. You know, you start playing the pieces a little differently, but if you can even expand yourself further and really recognize who you are and what your purpose on this earth is,
Mhm.
you actually start realizing, okay, I can play the game and I can jump into this game and play, but I actually know who I am so deeply that I can actually look at the bank on the board and grab the money and walk away. I know who I
This is so good. Veda, this is so good. So you're basically saying that we come in as a pawn, but in this evolution and this enlightenment, we become the queen. The queen on the chessboard, for those who don't know, can move anywhere, and she knows who she is.
am.
A pawn cannot, right? When you
Yes.
when when you wake up and realize, wait a second, I'm the queen on this board, and I know the rules, and all of these things are subservient to me, and I can move where I want when I feel like it. The owner of the chessboard is like, you know who you are now. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yes. And that to
Yeah,
me is that's sovereignty. That's
yeah,
knowing
there
who
you go.
you are. Because there's so many people that are in this game, or maybe they even see the board and they're thinking that the paperwork is what's gonna make them free. When you
Mm,
realize it's actually here that makes you free and knowing in your bones who you are that makes you free and that makes you
that
know
right there.
not the name on the
That,
birth certificate.
oh, that's gold. That's the first time I've heard you say that. I'm sure you've said it before in other environments, but to me,
Mhm.
that is gold. Knowing it here, it's not just a checklist of to do with this piece of paper and have this pushed through. It's not, no, it's
Mhm.
here. It's how
Yeah.
you think.
Yeah.
It's how you think. Oh, wow. That's
Yeah, and
good.
I always say this too is like sovereignty in itself, it's a lifestyle. It's a vibration. It's a knowing who you are
Mhm.
and all the paperwork and everything else backs who you are up. Because you know
Yeah.
that person when they walk into the room, they know who they are. You feel it. So when
Oh, yeah.
people don't know who they are and they're thinking the paperwork that they're handing you is what's going to speak for themselves, no, that doesn't work. They're going to throw your paperwork away. It doesn't matter.
Wow.
But
This is so good.
that's part of this journey I've been on and led by my babies by
Yeah.
saying they know who they are and they're reminding me who I am in the process so that I can then advocate and walk this path because they're what I'm doing right now is actually their inheritance. They're the ones that have guided me to this.
So let's talk about the inheritance part because I think that's when you got on that part of the journey is when we met, right?
Hmm.
And you were looking at setting your babies up.
Yeah.
It was yeah. So talk about that transition to where and how I came into Veda's world
Hmm.
and all that. Like when you started saying, it's about the babies now. We got to do X, Y, Z. What was that moment?
Yes, yes. So obviously, my baby's like, I need to be born without a birth certificate. My job as a mother is to set them up in a way that they can still function in society, and I'm not hindering him, right? Because as far as I knew, you need a birth certificate, you need a social security number to basically do anything. I was like, but I think you need to have it to get a job, to get a driver's license, to get insurance. You know, what if my baby has a disability? What if they get laid off? What if they need government insurance? Like all these different, things come to my mind first when he's telling me this. So
yeah,
I'm like, all right, well, baby, guide me to how I can still set you up and allow you to have all the opportunity at your fingertips because that is my job. I don't want to hinder him from doing any of those things by making my choice to be like, I don't want to get you a birth certificate because that's not what I ever felt my job was. So
right.
as I'm gaining this guidance from my baby, he's sharing with me and the synchronicities, really this first and foremost, me saying this ritual of saying, "Okay, guide me." Every
Mhm.
single thing in my day would guide me to certain things or to certain information. So
Okay. Okay.
information that I was guided to was that you can actually create lawful records. There's a difference actually between legal and lawful.
Cool. Mhm.
Lawful records are private records, and you can actually create lawful records that the government still honors, just like there are contracts you can make with the government, but you can make private contracts that the government
Yeah,
still
sure.
honors.
Sure.
Okay,
Yep.
you can
Yep.
actually make birth records that the government still honors and recognizes. So he led me down that. Next was, okay, if you can get a passport, that's actually that's what's going to prove your nationality. And again,
Hmm.
he taught me this difference between citizenship and nationality and why would we claim nationality and not citizenship? And how that opens the opportunity. If he wanted to work a W-2, all he needs is a passport. You start looking at all the different paperwork, realizing a
Hmm.
passport, he can travel the world with a passport. You can actually drive with a passport card. You don't need a driver's license. Like all this information started flooding into me. You can get private insurance. You have a passport.
Hmm.
Okay. So one of those things that I started realizing, well, he's going to need a bank account to
Hmm.
function.
Yep.
If he wants, that's kind of what led me into trust, that whole trust aspect of you need to have an entity to be operating out of if he wants to operate in commerce.
Right. Sure. Yep.
Yeah, there's all this, but if he wants to be, this concept of if he wants to get a loan to buy a car, if he does, again, have a
Yep.
disability, what is he going to tap into? And that's where this life insurance policy popped in.
Exactly.
Was
Yeah.
completely essential
Yeah.
to him as a free baby. But I do have one baby that has a birth certificate and has a social that is absolutely this is applicable to as well. And me too. It started expanding into me realizing first I was trying to set him up, but then realizing, okay, I can set him up, but if I'm not setting myself up,
Uh,
I'm not setting him up fully either. So really, when I met Mondo, I was like, hey, I need this for my whole family.
yeah. Yeah. Pretty much what you said.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And
but
it
it
was really
was so important finding you in particular because you were that person that was going to ask why, because
right.
like I
Yeah.
said, I
Yeah.
knew I needed this life insurance policy. I knew it. But I found a few other people that did life insurance policies, and the moment it came to needing a social, it
Hmm.
was game over.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
finding you that was willing to push hard enough and to see my vision too, to just
Mhm. Yep.
expand that. Okay, maybe this is weird, but let's go with this. Let's roll with this and let's see where it goes.
Right.
That's why I'm so
Right.
grateful for you on the journey.
Hey, I'm so grateful we were able to make it happen. And, you know, I saw your passion, I saw your vision. And to be fair to the conversation at the time, just meeting you, I didn't really understand everything,
Hmm.
but I didn't need to understand everything to be your fiduciary and support your vision.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Like I saw as a mother and as parents with you and Cam, I saw what you were going to do, not what you wanted to do. You were going to figure it out. And I said, you know what? I can jive with that as a parent, right? And as a business person, it's like, you know what? Let me do everything I can, and I'm going to find out if I get a yes, I'm gonna know why I got a yes. If I get a no, I'm gonna know exactly why I got a no. And if it's a no, it's gonna be because there's literally something in black and white that says it's illegal.
Hmm.
And guess what? I never found that.
It doesn't
No one
exist.
could. It doesn't exist. No one ever presented it to me that it's
Hmm.
illegal.
Hmm.
It's against policy. No one ever showed me anything.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, I'm like that annoying toddler where I'm just keep asking why. Because I didn't want to come back to you or any other client and say, hey, it's a no. Well, why did they say no? It's just the way it is. What?
Which is what I kept
Really?
getting over and over again.
Yeah, like so for me, that's not enough.
Hmm.
That's just it is. Well, why is it that way? Because I mean, think about it, man. I could give you crazy illustrations, but it's kind of like just look, man. You people in society and on Earth for centuries, there's a group of people at some point that have done something wrong for so long that they believe it's right.
Hmm. Yes.
They've done something, they practice something so that's absolutely wrong, but they've done it for so long, they've convinced the culture that it's right, it's correct, it's legit.
Yep.
And that's what I walked into willingly. And yeah, if I'm gonna be straight, you're my friend, man. Some of the things that were said about me,
Uh-huh. Oh, I can only imagine.
oh, it would make y'all die laughing. Like I don't get offended by it. It just makes me crack up that people would go there and take personal shots at me because I'm asking questions on trying to serve a client who wants a free baby and wants a life insurance policy. And I'm
Hmm.
taking personal shots. I don't
Yeah.
know if I need to go there
Well,
with you.
again, in all fairness, again, like I said, I have a lot of empathy for those people because I first would have been that person 10
Mm,
years ago,
okay.
where there's
Yep.
this idea that people don't want to register their baby. And I get comments on my Instagram posts like this all the time that people don't want to have their baby registered because they want to abuse their baby or they want to
Ooh.
traffic their children. Like it gets pretty crazy actually when and it's
Ooh.
like, okay, I'm willing to have a conversation with that because I'm not ignorant to the fact that that happens.
That's rough.
And
Yeah.
that does happen. Um,
Wow.
but loving parents that are choosing this path
Mhm.
intentionally, you have to be
Yeah. Yeah.
so intentional. You don't just do this willy-nilly and just decide I'm not going to register my baby and just hope it all works out. It is a
Yeah.
path that you have to be so intentional. And like I said, you have to advocate for yourself left and right because every person out there is going to be against you. And you have to
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
know yourself so deeply and why you're doing it to walk the
Mhm.
path.
Yeah, and I think
So, yeah.
I love that. I love that. So a part of the why we jive, because you didn't know at the time that you said you got to be an advocate for yourself. You said that a
Mhm.
few times, that you couldn't be more accurate because what we didn't know about each other, I knew you were advocating for your family. I mean, I knew that. I didn't really know how deep the roots were,
Hmm.
but you didn't know how deep the roots were with Selena and I, my wife, that we will have to be advocates for our own journey with infertility, IVF,
Yeah.
having
Yep.
baby, people telling us this, that, and the other, sending nasty messages through IG. You're trying to
Mm.
play God. You're wrong
Oh.
for that. This the nasty stuff they send to her. Of course, I'm bucking up. I'm like, Papa Bear, you know,
Hmm.
and and even with physicians and certain types of doctors, and fortunately we found some wonderful people eventually, but just the different things that we, no, we're no, yeah, just all the stuff you're
Yeah,
talking
like you're
about.
saying these nasty things that come out that you're like, that is so far from the intention, but okay,
Right.
I can kind of see where you're coming from. Like I'm not ignorant to that, but that's
Yep.
so not the intention here.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing me your thoughts, but I'm not going to accept that. That
Yeah,
no.
exactly. Exactly. And what's really cool, man, is, because of I will say under the hood of your family and in my family, there was this unspoken connection,
Hmm.
right, of fighting and being an advocate for your family and not just taking uh the standard for the final yes or no.
Hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
And wanting to push beyond that boundary. And so I respected that highly. And I was like, you know what? They're cut just like us. Like, I'm telling Selena, before she even met y'all, I'm like, man, they're just like us. Like,
Mm.
yeah, it's like I'm gonna see if I can get this done. And if I can, awesome. And if I can't, I'm gonna know exactly why. I'm gonna have it black and white, and I'm gonna send it in writing to their house so they can see it themselves.
I
If
love
that's
that.
if it's enough. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So
Yes.
so
And
and
me knowing
and
like if you can open this door, how many doors this is going to open for so many other
see.
people.
See, exactly. I always believe you have not because you ask not. I'm gonna ask.
Hmm.
I'm gonna ask, and I'm gonna keep asking until you give me something that is gonna like make me say, "All right, you got it." Like I see it right there. Cool. I'll back off.
Yeah.
Uh, but I really think though, just if you look at anyone in life, anyone we respect, any legendary individual, and man or woman, they were like that too.
Hmm.
They pushed against the status quo. They pushed the envelope. They stretched the minds of people. They stretched the boundaries that people have set in place because of comfort. They say, screw those fences, blow them up. We're not living this way anymore. We're going to think this way. We're
Hmm.
going to do this.
Yeah.
And so I definitely have a high respect for you, your family, what you guys are doing, and then bringing me and my organization involved to be able to help. The fact that I am a part of your story personally, and
Hmm.
also a part of the stories of the individuals that are rocking with Veda. And I've been meeting some phenomenal individuals and families. A bunch of beautiful babies, by the way. It's like baby galore. Like it's awesome.
Yes.
So yeah,
Yes.
and to be able to provide a resource. So let's get into um the what I'm able to do and
Yes.
how to help others in as far as IULs and stuff like that. So
Yes, totally. Because
when,
I mean,
yeah.
there's this expansion right first on free babies. A lot of people can wrap their minds around that concept, and
Mhm.
then passing them on to Mondo and what he offers is a whole other expansion of the mind. So I
Right, right,
want
right.
you to kind of share a few things misconceptions I think that people come to you because
Yeah.
from my perspective too, meeting you and learning some of the things. Okay, I got the concept of life insurance, but you expanded it to a whole other level that
Mhm.
almost seemed too good to be true. So it
Right.
took a level in me to start digging up these beliefs too. And when you had all these things to back it up, again, it mirrored a journey I had just experienced, which made me a lot more open to and accepting to the information first, but also I'm a seasoned researcher too. So when I
Okay.
started researching all these different things you were handing me, it made it so easy. So anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, I want to go to you. What are kind of the main questions you get or misconceptions that people come to you about what you offer?
Yeah. Yeah. I've got a list, but I'll keep it short. So the first thing is people hear the word life or the words life insurance and they think death. And we've been programmed to think life insurance is that it covers your
Hmm.
life. So when you die, your family gets XYZ. You're the
Yep.
beneficiary. And that's partly true. So I'm not saying y'all who think that are off, you know half of it. Okay. There's another half that I won't say it's been hidden. It's just been kind of one of those things you have to kind of be in the know,
Yep.
right? It's been leveraged by a certain demographic, if you will, or this group of people, and they've kind of kept it to themselves, if you will.
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm.
And now social media has helped with this, as far as making it more of a mainstream kind of thing now. And we'll get to that in a minute. But the first part is understand that life insurance is this type of policy we're talking about, an IUL, an indexed universal life policy. This particular policy, and you can even use a traditional whole life too. That's a thing, but it's for the living benefits, life. The first word is life insurance is life and life insurance. You use it for your life, the living benefits. And that right there, that paradigm shift, a lot of people struggle with more than you would think. It seems like
Hmm.
very simple to understand, but a lot of people are like, well, wait a second. All this time I've thought life insurance, and that's why people honestly, when you buy traditional life insurance for a death benefit, that's a very selfless act. You are doing it for someone else. You are purchasing something that you will never experience
Hmm. Hmm.
in the
Yeah.
traditional definition, program definition of life insurance. But with this particular type of policy, there's living benefits that you can experience. And the bonus, when you pass on, your family will experience, your trust, your beneficiaries, your loved ones will experience. So everyone gets taken care of while you're living and when you're gone.
Hmm.
Okay. So now you know the other half. But what is the life like using it during my life and while I'm living? What do you mean? Right. That's the other, like, what does that even mean? Using it during my life. Okay. So Veda, let's do a little exercise here, right? Forget life insurance for a second. Just forget all this. And let's say you have me on, we just started, we haven't been on an hour and we just start talking. And I told you, hey, I might want to talk to you and Cam later. I have an idea. There's something that, yeah, I heard you guys want certain types of things like tax-free vehicles. You want something you can leverage tax-free with loans, withdrawals, whatever. You also want protected growth. You don't want to put all your money in the stock market or something very volatile. You want to put it somewhere to where you know it's going to grow. Your principal will never decrease. That sounds pretty good, right?
Hmm.
Okay, yeah, and you want a guaranteed return. That sounds meant guaranteed. Wow, that sounds awesome. Okay, cool. And you also want these funds transferable to your loved ones, beneficiary, we say loved ones, for tax free. That sounds pretty cool, right?
Hmm.
And you can use it for a high yield savings account. You can use it for funding projects. You can use it for buying that Sweet 16 vehicle. You can use it for, maybe doing a private lending if someone in the family needs a little loan because they're in a little bit of a spot. Whatever. You can use it for all these different vehicles. Are you interested in hearing more about it? And you would
Uh,
say,
yeah.
yeah. Okay, cool. You see this
No,
right
I'm
here?
comfortable with my 401k. Just kidding.
Right.
Sorry. Yeah.
Which, and that's another fork in the road we can take, but we'll do that later.
Okay.
We'll do that
Yeah.
later. So I said, hey, well, great. So if you're interested in all those things, you see this thing right here? If you invest in this, it will do everything that I just mentioned. And you're like, oh, well, what is that little rectangular thing? Yeah, if you invest in this, it does all that. And it's been used this way for over a century. Okay. And guess what? This is how trusts are funded. This is how people have generational wealth. Really, it's this thing. Everyone will set meetings, consultations, and want to talk to me right away.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't say this. I say, great. What if I told you that vehicle that does all these things that you said you're interested in is life insurance?
Suddenly you're trying to sell me something, life insurance. Yeah.
And
And
they're
then that
like,
part, the myth, Agent Smith comes out.
right. And see, people get triggered and they hear life insurance and they think all their, preconceived notions, experiences, whatever.
Yep.
And and they don't hear the function, they hear what it is. They don't hear the result. They hear life insurance. They don't, it's like, how do you miss out on the result and what it provides because you're so stuck on these two words?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really think about that, man. If that's you watching this, I don't mean to offend anyone. I'm just saying, like, how do you get fixated on two words and completely miss out on all the benefits I just told Veda about? Because oh, well, it's a life insurance. So what if it is? I don't care if it's a donut. Like, the donut will give me that, give me a box of them.
Right?
You know what I'm saying? And so it's reprogramming people to think differently about life insurance. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big one. That's probably the biggest one I get. Then I'll probably say like number one B is, man, that sounds too good to be true though. Man, I feel you. And I've kind of heard a little bit about it. I've seen TikTok stuff. I heard about it from my grandpa, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That's just too good to be true, Beta. Your guy Mondo's cool, but I think he's full of it. I had one guy said he thought I was a clown. I didn't get offended. I was
Agent Smith, I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
like, and I was like, okay, cool, I was like,
Hmm.
whatever. But I'll tell you this, that's probably the one B I guess too good to be true. Well, I will say it again, like I say it all the time when we do
Well, yeah, you're first thinking like, well, if this is true, how come I haven't heard about it? And I know that was my
right,
husband's first thing he said.
right, exactly. Well, whereas it's like, again, just because it's new to you doesn't mean that it's wrong or
Hmm.
bad or doesn't work. Like, who do we think we know it? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Hmm.
there's a bunch of people that I work with that have known of this for decades.
Yeah. Well,
And
and
when we
you
talk
really
about it,
have
they're
to
like,
start
that's it.
thinking too, the normal path, okay, most of us all went through the public school system.
Right,
And the
right.
founder of the public school system is famously known for saying, I'm in the business for creating a nation of workers, not a nation of thinkers. So
You
when
better
they are
speak it.
specifically giving us certain information and a specific path they want us to walk down, that's the only
Mhm,
information we know.
mhm. Well, and check this out. So this kind of goes to why you don't know about it. And I know Cam, this stuck out to Cam too, where this particular type of policy in regards to the Department of Insurance, the relationship between the Department of Insurance and the insurance carriers that provide these products, these wonderful products. One of the policies, I guess you say, or restrictions between these two is the Department of Insurance says, okay, yeah, you can provide this product to the public. That's fine. However, and based upon all the features and stuff, that's fine. But you are not allowed to market it, meaning no billboards, no commercials, no magazine ads, nothing. People just have to find out the way that they find out.
So we're gonna like put on the billboards what we want them to do because we make money.
Car insurance, all the PNC stuff you see, property and casualty,
Yeah,
you can see that everywhere. You see all the other companies, doing their thing, term policies, this, that, blah, blah, blah. But you will never see an ad for an index universal life policy ever.
because it's a
Why?
secret that only certain people are supposed to know about.
So then you think about the technicality of it. Why don't they want the masses to know about it? What is so that was my first question when I learned about it years ago. I was like,
Mm.
well, if that's the truth, then oh, I get it.
Well,
Tax.
Oh,
free.
oh, yeah. Well, yes, that's the first thing. They want people to go to a default. They, first
Right,
of all,
right,
they want people to depend on the
mm,
system. So their
right.
first go-to is going to be the social insurance.
Yes. Yep, 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 yep,
That makes
yep,
people have to depend on the system if that's who they're going to for their retirement or their disabilities or whatever.
yep, yep.
Not to mention they are making money on the social insurance fund. So they want you walking down this one path that they benefit from.
Hmm. Yep. So they put this rule in place. You can't market it because it is a tax-free vehicle. It can become a tax-free cash cow. Now, they do say that you cannot call it an investment because investments are taxable.
Mm.
But it is a contract, though.
Mm, mm-hmm.
But they do honor it as a private contract. Remember, we talked about that. You mentioned
Mm-hmm.
it. They do honor it as a private contract. And here's what's crazy. Some of the largest case studies regarding whole life permanent life insurance, IULs, and the like, some of the biggest case studies have been examples of politicians utilizing this tool to pay for campaigns,
Uh, interesting.
to to pay their salaries when they're out of office, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Wow.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and I don't mean like this has been going on for a decade. This is not like the current people. No, 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 no. This is old school. This is old school. Probably before some of us were born.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that part. And so I always tell people when I share this stuff, they're like, "Yeah, man, okay, but don't take my word for it. You don't even have to like me. That's cool. I want you to look at where it's written, not by me, by the IRS. They wrote the code. They
Mm.
wrote 101A. They wrote a 72E. They wrote 7702. There's three tax citations, Tamara, Tefra, and Defra, that they wrote. And all I'm doing for Veda's family is, hey guys, I found out something. Look, you want to leverage that for the
Yep.
benefit of your legacy? Yes, cool. Come over here. Let me introduce you to such and such. They will provide this vehicle for you and your family. I'll help you structure it because that's my job as a fiduciary. I'll make sure it's put together the right way. And then
Boom.
there you go.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's, and now I will real quick address this is that, you see a lot of things on social media and this, that, and the other, where it be, and not, you won't see companies advertising it. You see agents doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Insurance agents, which is a tightrope because even in that, there's a lot of insurance carriers that are starting to spank insurance agents.
Interesting.
And yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Because think about it, it can get them in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
So they're actually, I don't know if I ever told you this. There's one business relationship that I developed last year where one of the first things they asked me was, are you doing that? If you are, take it off, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if not, we're not going to work with you, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
and I can do this and webinar stuff like that. What I mean is what you see on because a lot of these agents are giving IULs and whole life permanent or permanent life insurance a bad name because they don't know what they're doing. But be
Yep.
frank about it.
Yep.
They don't know what they're doing. So, it's like if I told you, hey, I just got my mechanic license last week, let me fix your car. Let me fix your Tesla
Mm.
or your Lambo, that is, or your Bugatti or whatever, which is the level of an IUL. It's kind of like the creme de la creme luxury IUL, luxury insurance policy. But I just got my mechanic's license yesterday. Can I fix your Bugatti, please?
Yeah.
Okay. Y'all see the problem there? Y'all
Yep.
see the problem? And so
Mm-hmm.
things blow up, it doesn't work well, blah, blah, blah. And then the customer, rightly
Creates a
so,
bad
will
name. Yep.
give it a bad name. So you just have to, partner with people that know what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
those are probably the top, one, two, three, whatever amount I gave you of the questions, concerns, thoughts. And then other things are more just personal, like, what do you need? And, I don't understand it all, which is totally fine because maybe we could speak to this in regards to how we work together. do you educate your people when you, or you just help them check the box and keep it moving? I already know the answer is rhetorical, but do you educate your people?
Well, yeah, you have to have the confidence to stand on ground, right?
Right. That's the same way we do. That's why we work well together.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I want to make sure, like you and your husband, that you know what this is. We're going to keep talking. We're going to keep, I want you to be this short of getting your own license. You get what I'm saying? Like to where you need to know how to drive the freaking car that we just built.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't know how to drive it, guess what? I'm not giving you the keys and you're not buying it yet. We got to make sure you know how to drive first.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. And I love that we have this kind of unspoken understanding and agreement when we work with. I can think of several people that you've met first, I've met them second, and it's like everything is congruent. You know what I mean? It just makes sense. It's like they're so educated on your side. They come over here and they're just like ready to roll. And then like, all right, cool. They're ready for round two of learning.
Mm-hmm.
Because then later on, guess what? You don't have to do this part again.
Yeah. Well, and it becomes a lifestyle
Becomes a
again.
lifestyle. Exactly right.
It's
Exactly
just how
right.
you live. And
Exactly
you're
right.
not, and I love the whole concept too, because it does take that radical responsibility that you are setting yourself up and you're
Mhm.
not depending on the government to be, I mean, sure, you can have that be
Yeah.
whatever, but it's not, you are taking that responsibility of your life to set yourself up.
Yes.
You say it's not
Yes.
an investment, but that's the legalese. They're
That's the legalese. That's the legalese. Yeah,
legalese.
exactly.
It is you are investing in yourself and you're
Right.
investing in your family and your heirs by doing it.
Right. It's not a security, right? You know what I mean? So
Yes.
that's the thing. I will say this because I think it's important for it was and is important for you and Cam, where it's the purpose of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You could talk about how cool it is, but let's talk about more of the purpose and from
Yes.
a practical standpoint,
Mm-hmm.
right? So some of the common ways that people will want to use an IUL. One of the common ways is a high yield savings account versus sticking all their money in a bank, getting hardly anything in return for it. They're putting a nice portion of their savings into an insurance policy that's going to be protected. Okay. It's going to have compounding growth. It's never going to decrease. They're going to get a high yield on it, much, much, much higher than a bank account will give you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Savings account. So and you fund it, and also when you take it out, it's easy. It's you know what I mean. It's not a problem. There's none, all that stuff. So that's a common like just I don't want to stuff my money there. The second one is for parents who are taking out policies on babies or young children, is to build a fund that the child or them as parents can operate out of. So
Mm-hmm.
whether it be an oh crap fund, what was an oh crap? There's a medical emergency, there's a whatever, or maybe it's a sweet 16. You want to buy a vehicle, or maybe there's a senior trip, or maybe there's some sort of schooling you want to pay for, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and this is where if some of us may know of those trust fund babies we grew up with, like they seem like they live like there was people in the neighborhood with me,
Mm-hmm.
straight lower middle class, the middle class and whatever. But there was a couple parents that feel like their financial stewardship was on point. But I'm like, but they
Yes.
work,
And it
you know what I'm
seemed
saying?
out of reach. It was like trust fund babies are for rich people. And that's like that's one of
Yep,
part of the grooming that we just thought that's not for us.
yep,
That's for
yep.
really, really rich people.
Yep, exactly. And so, those individuals were, I was like, man, how did they go on this expensive, crazy trip? How did he get a Camaro? I could barely spell Camaro, let alone he got one at 16.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what? He lived up the street from me. And then I found out years later, he has a trust fund that his
With an
grandparents have
insurance
started,
policy. Yep.
an insurance policy that his grandparents had started. And then his mom had passed when he was a young teenager, and it was all in a trust. And boom, right? So that's a common way for parenting uses, right? Is, purchases, things like that. Another way people use it is pretty cool is business owners. Okay, business owners leverage this quite a bit. A common one is real estate. It's or if you're starting a business and you can't get approved by a bank to get a line of credit or a loan or whatever. If you're like, man, I'm trying to buy this food truck. They want 20 grand down, but my credit is shot or whatever it is. Okay. Well, when you pull money from your IUL, pending, that you have the money in there, meaning you've been funding it properly and all that stuff, you can pull it from your own bank, the bank of you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There's no credit check. There's no bank statements required to prove you got to make the income and all this other kind of mess. Nope, it's literally one form. And can you agree with that? Because you've done it.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
cool. There you go. So it's not complicated and they don't put you through the ringer. Okay. Um, Another common use, well, let me stay in there with business owners. Real estate, for instance, there are individuals that will pull out money, utilizing the insurance company's reserves. Your money stays into your policy. You can do what's called a loan, not a withdrawal. A withdrawal is from your money. A
Mm.
loan is from their money.
Yep.
And you use that to go create cash flow assets, like you would use a line of credit or a loan from a bank. Instead of doing it from the bank, you're doing it from the insurance company that you're partnered with. You borrowed their money. Go create a cash flow asset that now is not only taking care of the investment, paying you, and you're able to put the money back into your account and into your policy so you can do it all over again.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, and there's a lot of different flexibilities and freedoms around that. I won't go down the
Yeah.
rabbit hole.
Yes.
So
And
those are
then
probably
there's
the
that
common.
whole level of like financial literacy that you're teaching your little ones,
Yes.
you know?
Come on. Yeah. Yeah.
And
I mean,
and I feel like I will first say too, when I mentioned earlier, there's a whole mourning process when you start discovering information. And there's a mourning process I feel like I had to go through when I was like, ah, why didn't my parents teach me about this? Or they didn't set me up. Well, it is kind of frustrating when you think you're the one kind of breaking generational curses, I want to say, when and then giving our parents grace because they didn't know. You know,
that's a
how
big one.
cool it is to be able to start this for your own family and what kind of legacy you're creating. That's huge for me.
Can we pause there?
Yes.
I'll get into one more usage of the IUL, but this, what you're saying is gold. I couldn't agree with you more. And I think that's a problem that a lot of us are faced with. And we, we get pissed off at our folks, being real about it.
Hmm.
We get mad. How come they didn't tell me?
Yeah.
Well, you know what? The best word you could ever said is give them grace. They did the best they knew how to do, man. And what's wrong with the fact that Veda, you're the one, you're Neo for your family.
Yeah.
I'm the one. And I own that space. It's an honor to have it. I don't say it arrogantly. I say it with confidence and pride, and I'm honored to be that for my family. So I can open up my parents' eyes in their later years, their golden years. I can open up the eyes of my sisters and my brothers. I can open up others that are around us and friends and people. I'm honored to be the one in my
Hmm.
tribe.
Hmm.
But
Yes. I love what you
what I'm
just
not going to
said.
do is shame people. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, and that's part of when you know your purpose and you know who you are, that's the
Yes.
purpose.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like I'm here to share the good news for my with my family and loved ones. I'm not going to shame the elders because of what they didn't know and what wasn't afforded to them. That's
Hmm.
that's crap. Don't do that to them old people.
Hmm.
Don't do
Yeah, because they
that.
really did the
Like
best they knew.
they knew the best they knew
And
how to
it's so
do.
cool that we're awakened and we're being guided to this information to awaken others. Part as that
Exactly.
trailblazing, and other people listening are gonna, many of them are gonna be those people in their life, you know?
Yes. Yes. Exactly. Exactly. All right. So real quick pivot, then we'll come back to you
Yes.
close out.
Yes.
So the another common use of an IUL is tax-free retirement planning.
Mm, mm-hmm.
That's a big one. Tax-free retirement plan. They're like, what? Like, yes. Okay. Kind of giving a quick example. We have one, this is real basic. We have one client. She is in her late 30s. She is investing into her IUL and investing herself. She's instead of putting $1,000 a month away into her savings account, that's what she would do every month out of her check. She said, I'm gonna put that into my IUL.
Mm.
Okay. Well, when she's at retirement age, from age 65 to 95, 30 years straight, she will be receiving $103,000 a year tax free.
Wow.
She built her own retirement plan because she said, I don't know how all the stuff with my job's gonna work out and retirement stuff. So let me go ahead and invest in myself because I can't trust them to invest in me the way I would trust it, invest in myself.
Well,
So
yeah.
yeah,
And let's just even go to this idea that people are depending on Social Security as their retirement
that
plan.
too. Yep, that
You
too.
know,
Yep.
I mean, they're saying that that money is going to be gone in 10 years. So if that is your plan,
Mhm.
I hope you're waking up to the fact that you need a better plan.
Yeah, it's all kinds of stuff, man. I mean, the retirement conversation is huge,
Hmm.
right? Whether it be in IULs or people have dead 401ks and 403bs, that from old previous jobs, right?
Yes.
And money just kind of that thing's just sitting out there like a canoe in the Pacific, you
Hmm.
know, and we help you grab it and we help you Frankenstein that thing back to life in a better vehicle. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
That's going to take care of you in your golden years. I mean, that's the things we do. So, but those are some of the common practices and ways that you way to utilize it. And now, if you take this conversation and you put it in the lap of, free baby, right? Sovereignty. You look at and everything that you've been discussing, you can see how it's a perfect fit.
Yes.
It's a perfect fit and it empowers you from a financial standpoint, from a legacy standpoint, in so many different areas of the tools within the one IUL. So,
Yes. It's like when you learn about it, it's a must-have. It's a no-brainer. It was first having the knowledge that it exists in the first place. And what's
yep,
really interesting is I started recognizing or doing my own research that the idea of like life insurance has actually existed long before the United States was even a thing.
yeah,
It's
oh yeah,
it's been
dude,
around forever and
dude,
it is
and
frustrating. We're like, why is this the first time I'm hearing about this type? I mean, this
yeah.
concept and how to build upon it is,
Do you know
yeah,
they had annuities and life insurance in the 13 colonies even before that? The 13 colonies were called the 13 colonies, like for real.
yeah.
It
Like it's
goes back
past the test of
that
time.
right. It goes back so far. It didn't start in 1776. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
No, or later. I mean, these things started centuries ago. That's why we think about this. If people don't know, so there's some insurance carriers that I work with that literally have been around over 150 years.
That's amazing.
Literally been around over 150 years plus, some longer than that. And guess what they've been selling? Permanent life insurance or living benefits.
Yeah. So if you're wondering
So
if your money is safe when with these private contracts,
yes, yes. Oh gosh. Oh man. The insurance business or industry is the most highly regulated industry in the world. Okay. One of my close friends, childhood friends, is works for the FBI, and he's high up. And he mentioned to me in a conversation, he said, guess what the top crimes that we fight as the FBI? Guess what they are? I said, drugs. He's like, nope. Guns, nope. Cyber crimes, nope. Number one on the FBI list, insurance fraud. So what does that tell you? There's a lot of money in it because everything you see everything's insured. The house you're in right now, the one I'm in right now, like this, my
hmm,
phone, it's like
right?
me.
Yeah.
It's like
Well,
everything's insured.
yes. And even people that work at Walmart, they're insured by
They're
Walmart. You know,
insured.
it expands.
It
And
expands.
anyway, that's a whole.
Yeah. It's on a rabbit hole. But yeah, as far as safety and all that, like I'll tell you, and it's one thing I teach people is a difference between an account and a contract.
Mm, hmm.
Okay, there's a big difference between like your bank account, your brokerage accounts you have, and all that. Those are accounts, and they're governed by some entity of the government.
Yes.
Contracts are not. IUL, a trust. See where I'm going?
Yeah. Yep. Well,
Yeah.
when you even like start studying law in the highest forms of law are trust law, contract law, which is
Hmm.
what makes this so unique compared to accounts like we said that are owned. They're not even owned by us.
Nope. No, it's so cool, man. We can go down rabbit holes for days. I don't want to,
Right.
leave some to people like to talk on a more personal level. But yeah, it's so cool to see. I guess give people a window, a peek into window of what we talk about. When we're at dinner and all that stuff, or on the phone and all our text threads and stuff like that. Because these are the things that you kind of maybe you might miss in a traditional webinar,
Mm-hmm.
right? You're hearing, I think, from Veda and I some of the guts behind the webinar and why we do what we do, why there's the website, why there's the products, why there's this, why there's that. Um, I think this is like the behind the scenes. I used to love like the sitcoms when they do the behind the scenes stuff. I
Yeah.
used to love those episodes, right? Those things.
Yes.
I feel like this is that
Yeah.
for people that rock with us. So that's awesome. So
Yes. Well, tell people that are listening where they can find you, Mondo, and how can
sure,
they
absolutely.
connect with you.
So a couple different ways. I get my personal handle at IG is Mondo Grimes, real easy, MondoGrimes. You can also go to our website, which we are actually taking appointments through it because we are doing a complete revamp right now. But I'm sorry, it is AMG and Associates .com. All right, I just messed that up. AMG-associates.com. AMG-associates.com. And you'll see me there. You can put in a request for your information for a consultation with me, and we will talk about it. See how we can help you out. So
Love it.
very
Yes, you definitely have to schedule time with Mondo. If you want to, his stuff lives in my resources tab on my website too. So if you ever all else fails, go to my website, Veda with a V, VedaRevival.com. Click on the resources tab. His stuff, his website and his consultation link is going to be there.
yes, yes, yes.
On
Right.
top of all, we've done webinars together. We're going to continue to do webinars. So I hope people also can sign up for my, uh, subscribe to be on my email list so that you get notified of when we're going to do future webinars together. So people can kind of get that idea, do a live Q&A, which I love. But most importantly, once you have that background, then you're doing your one-on-one with Mondo and getting into the guts of your personal situation and how there's so many different things you can do that you never would have thought of that Mondo. And one of the things I love about Mondo is how creative he is and how it's just gonna, you know, you'll vibe together, find what works for your situation. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, yeah. So yeah, you can find his stuff on my website and then also watch some of the past webinars on YouTube on my YouTube channel as Veda Revival. Mostly, and I will just kind of do a plug on, I'm most active on Instagram. So if you're not already following me on Instagram, Veda.revival is where I share most of my information and share about future events and things like that. So Mondo's always going to be someone that I'm like, you have to know about this. And anyone that's going down this path, first of all, even if you don't have a free baby, it's for you, and your family, your legacy, and just, yeah, again, financial literacy. He knows so much. So anyway, I thank everyone for listening and being here and on this behind the scenes, like Mondo said, because yeah, I think you nailed it with that. Just the
Yeah.
guts behind why we do what we do and our passions.
Love
So
that. That's right.
anyway, and then
Thank you for
and
having me
then you
on.
guys can all become our friends and then come hang out with us too, because we've enjoyed hanging out
Yes.
together. Good joy.
Yes. Come hang out, man. Come get dinner. We Mexican food and stuff like that. It's all good. So
Yes.
yes, yes, I do. Thank you for having me again today on the behind the scenes view of Veda and old Mondo. So we
Yes.
appreciate it.
Awesome. Okay.
All right.
We'll
See you guys.
see you soon. Bye.